I'm Dave Hostetter, curator of the planetarium at the Lafayette Science Museum in Lafayette, Louisiana. This is Acadiana Skies. Thank you for coming in. And we're going to be taking a look at the Big Dipper tonight. It's Monday, the 23rd of March. So if you were to go outside tonight, right after dark, around 8:40 or so, looking over toward the northeastern sky, this is where you would find the Big Dipper. The dipper is about the size of your hand held out at arm's length. So when you're looking for it, if you actually stick your hand out as far from your face as possible, kind of gives you an idea of how big a group of stars you're looking for, might make it a little bit easier for you to find it. The Big Dipper is something called an asterism. That means it's an unofficial imaginary dot-to-dot drawing in the sky, as opposed to a constellation, which is an official imaginary dot-to-dot drawing in the sky. The Big Dipper does not have the same name everywhere. Over in Great Britain, it's sometimes called the Plough. In parts of Europe, it's called the Large Wagon. So it has different names, but here in North America, typically we call it the Big Dipper. Now, it is in the constellation of Ursa Major, the Larger Bear, which is a pretty good-sized constellation. You really have to use a lot of imagination to see a bear there, but if you do it right, it can be done. You know, for astronomers, they don't really use constellations for all that many things other than locating things in the sky. When astronomers look at constellations, often they think of them like this. And what you are seeing here are constellation boundaries. So everything that's in this general region is considered to be in Ursa Major. All that really means is that it's being seen in the same direction as we look at it from Earth. It doesn't really have anything to do with where things are physically located. It's just in that same general direction away from Earth. The constellation boundaries and constellation figures, a little bit different things. And then there are asterisms like the Big Dipper here. The Big Dipper is a great guidepost in the sky. Maybe one of the most famous things that you can find with it is the North Star. To do that, you look at the Big Dipper, look at the two stars that are here at the front of the Big Dipper's cup, and follow the line of those two dippers. This is the North Star. It will not be the brightest star of the night sky, as so many people seem to hear. And in fact, it's not even in the top 40. So there are more than 40 stars that are brighter than that one is. That makes it very nice to have these pointers. Just follow the pointers, and there's the North Star. It's part of the Little Dipper, another asterism, another unofficial group of stars. The Little Dipper is much, much fainter than the Big Dipper is, and while you can find the Big Dipper pretty much anywhere, except maybe in the largest cities where there is just so much light, in smaller towns and around the edges of cities and out in the countryside, you'll have no trouble finding the Big Dipper. But the Little Dipper can be very challenging because many of its stars are very faint. The North Star is the brightest star in the Little Dipper, but that's not saying a whole lot. You may be able to see the North Star, though. You may also be able to see the two stars here that are farthest from the North Star and in the Little Dipper. They are sometimes called the guardians of the pole. So watch for those, but don't expect to see the Little Dipper unless you're well out into the countryside and well away from lights. Within the Big Dipper itself, it's kind of an interesting star. We're going to move this just a little bit. Move in on it. This star right here at the bend of the Big Dipper's handle. When you look at it carefully with the unaided eye, you'll see it's actually two stars. We sometimes call them the Horse and Rider, or Alcor and Mizar. Let's get in a little bit closer to them. If you have a pair of binoculars at home, be sure to take a look at Alcor and Mizar. It's a lot easier to see them split as two stars with binoculars than it is to see them with the unaided eye. With a telescope, of course, you can do the same thing. Use your lower magnifications, though, to get as big a view as possible around the star and to make aiming a little bit easier. But you'll be able to see those two stars without too much trouble at all. And you'll also notice in a telescope that this star, the brighter one of Alcor and Mizar, itself will look like two stars. Mizar A and B. Turns out Alcor is really two stars going around each other so closely a backyard telescope's not going to split them. The same thing's true of both the stars in Mizar. And so we look at this with the telescope and think we see three stars We look at it with binoculars and we think we see 2. With the unaided eye, we think we see 2. In fact, we're looking at about a half a dozen stars all going around each other and moving together through space in a fairly complicated way. When you are looking here with the low-power telescope in particular, you'll notice another star right there making kind of a triangle of stars. The star is sometimes called Cetus Ludovicianum, King Ludwig's star, and it was named that back in the 1700s. It's not really part of the Alcor and Mizar system. It's much farther away than they are. It just happens to lie in the same general direction as those two. I just like saying Cetus Ludovicianum, so it's just an interesting thing for you to take a look at. Look for it in binoculars or a low-power telescope. But that's all right there at the bend of the handle of the Big Dipper. Now, the Dipper does not always stay in the same place. As the Earth rotates, it will move around. So if we go to different times of night, watch what happens to the Big Dipper here. Hour after hour, let's change from early evening to late evening. And you can see that the Big Dipper, like other stars, seems to move around the North Star. That's all caused by the rotation of the Earth. Let's back up again to early evening. That's too far. There we go. But now, let's go around the Earth. We're going to go from date to date instead of hour to hour, and we will still see the Big Dipper seeming to change its position. It'll change its position pretty radically over the course of months. So you have 2 different types of motion to keep track of when you're trying to watch constellations in the sky. You've got the hourly motion due to the rotation of the Earth, and then you've also got this daily motion caused by the revolution of the Earth around the Sun. So be sure to watch for that. Go out and look at the Big Dipper every once in a while, and that will help you to keep track of where it is because it does change its position. We have different stars in different seasons, but at the same time of year, every year, we always see the same stars. So we're going to go back to the end of twilight, to about 8:45 or so on March 23rd. This is where the Big Dipper is going to be. Remember, it'll be about as big as the length of your hand held out at arm's length. And I hope that you will go out and take a look around, see what you can find, and as you find this, don't forget to show it to your friends and family. Lots of people like to be able to find things up there in the sky. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoy the sky.